The reconstruction you are about to see is based on a real-life incident. We're now going to see that again, but this time you will hear what our unfortunate subject heard.
I don't think it was just one ship. I think it was because of lots of ships, and for many years. I worked in the engine room, but you think it's not too bad because you are inside the noisy area just for a short time. And then I remember a friend. He was hit by a truck that was reversing because he was wearing ear defenders and could not hear it. I hated wearing ear defenders, and when I was younger I got into trouble with the chief engineer for not wearing them, but still I never wore them. I was young and I guess I was a bit crazy then. I think I knew for the first time I had a problem when my wife, my ex-wife, kept telling me, "You've got the TV too loud. You've got the TV too loud." Then I went for a medical examination, and the doctor said I had a problem with my hearing. I had to do more tests, but it was too late. There was too much damage. They said they could not help me, and that I had to wear a hearing aid. But it was too bad, too much damage to my ears, and so I lost my job.
In 2014, the International Convention on Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, was amended to make the Code of Noise Levels on board ships mandatory for new vessels. The purpose of the code, sometimes referred to as the Noise Code, is to limit noise levels and reduce seafarers' exposure to it. This training video will look at some of the requirements contained within it and at safety practices contained in other maritime industry codes. To understand how the ear can be damaged by noise, let's take a look at how it works. The human hearing system is divided into three parts, called the outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. The outer ear is made up of cartilage covered by skin. It funnels sound into the external auditory canal, a tube which ends at the eardrum. Sound causes the eardrum and the tiny bones of the middle ear, known as ossicles, to vibrate. These movements are transmitted as fluid vibrations within the cochlea, in the inner ear, and converted to sound impulses that travel to the brain through the hearing nerve. Acoustic trauma, or damage to the ear due to exposure to excessively loud noises, can cause your eardrum to rupture, but it is thankfully rare that this happens. Depending on what causes the noise, what form it takes, and how close the person is, it may be a combination of noise and pressure that can damage the ear and result in what is called a perforated eardrum. If you expose your ears to high-level noise, such as from machinery, particularly on a regular basis, the damaging effects can build up over time. It can actually take between 10 and 20 years for the problem to become apparent. By then, it will probably be too late to save your hearing. This situation is complicated by the fact that noise does not actually cause pain until it reaches quite high levels, well above the point at which it's already started to cause damage to the hearing system. This has the effect of making us think that nothing is wrong. When the fluid vibrations travel along the cochlea, microscopic hair-like projections act as sensors, and a chemical reaction occurs as they bend in response to the vibrations. This chemical reaction is actually what produces the impulses that go to the brain. If these sensors are damaged, the signals to the brain start to fail. Most noise-induced hearing loss is caused by the damage to and eventual death of these hair-like cells. Unlike in other creatures, human hair cells don't grow back. They are gone for good, leading to the condition of permanent and irreversible deafness. They are not encouraging words, permanent and irreversible, so it makes sense to take all reasonable precautions to ensure you do not get into that situation. A shipping company is required by law to provide hearing protection for use in areas on board where there is loud noise. If you want to make sure you don't lose your hearing, use it. Your company's safety management system will contain instructions on the use of hearing protection equipment. It is also a mandatory requirement for instruction on hearing protection policies and procedures to be included in the ship's schedule of training. If you fail to follow the procedures, you may find yourself in trouble on board. More significantly, though, if it is documented that you have failed to follow procedures, this may affect your ability to claim compensation for any injury. That includes damage to your hearing. Sound levels are measured in units called decibels. Sounds of less than 75 decibels are unlikely to cause hearing damage, even if you're exposed to them for a long time. Long or repeated exposure to sounds at or above 85 decibels can cause hearing loss. To put things into context, these are average decibel ratings for some familiar sounds. A domestic refrigerator or washing machine, 45 decibels. Noise from heavy city traffic, 85 decibels. A motorcycle passing at about 7.5 meters, 95 decibels. An MP3 player at maximum volume, 105 to 115 decibels. Normal conversation in a mess room, 60 decibels. A main boiler, 90 to 95 decibels. A compressor, 85 to 100 decibels. And a manual pneumatic or electric machine tool, around 80 to 95 decibels. For the purpose of the noise code, noise levels are mostly quoted in a unit called decibels A. The human ear is less sensitive to sounds of a low frequency, and a small adjustment is applied to the nominal decibel level to convert it to relative loudness. There are defined noise levels that are associated with noise-induced hearing loss and with hearing protection measures on board. The guidelines balance the level of noise against the time exposed to it, as this graph shows. So, there are acceptable noise levels to which a seafarer can be exposed for longer periods without any hearing protection. Some which require hearing protection to be worn, some where time limits apply, and there are those where exposure is not acceptable for any length of time. There are also defined levels to which hearing protection must reduce noise for the wearer. So, what does this mean in practice for you on board? After all, you don't walk around with a decibel meter, do you? To begin with, you should pay attention to any warning signs that are on doors or next to items of equipment around your ship. The noise code requires such notices to be posted outside noisy areas to warn anyone entering that hearing protection is required. Your ship may have been surveyed for noise levels. If so, areas of risk will have been identified and warning notices posted. This will include any area where the noise level is above 85 decibels. Secondly, you should be aware of your company's policy on noise protection and the specific requirements applicable to your ship, as contained in the safety management system. This will include knowing areas of the ship where hearing protection is to be used, what equipment is available, and how to use it. Finally, you should always be aware of your surroundings. A good rule of thumb is that if you have to shout or even raise your voice for someone just 2 meters away to hear you, there is a problem, and you probably should be wearing hearing protection in that area. Either way, do not take a chance. Hearing damage is a cumulative process. It will get that little bit worse with every single exposure to loud noise. So make sure you use your hearing protection whenever it's needed. Wear hand tools, galley devices, and other portable equipment produce high noise levels locally and under normal working conditions. Warning information also needs to be displayed, and hearing protection made available for users. Even though the equipment may only be in use for a relatively short time, hearing protection must still be worn. Any exposure to high noise levels should be avoided. The noise code uses the generic term hearing protectors when discussing personal protective devices. This includes different types of ear defender and earplug, which are all devices worn to reduce the level of noise reaching the ears of the person wearing them. Specifications quote an SNR, or single number rating. In general terms, if you're going to be working in an area with noise levels of 85 to 90 decibels, you only need a basic device with an SNR value of 20 or less. If the noise levels are 90 to 95 decibels, you need an SNR value of between 20 and 30. For 95 to 100 decibels, you need an SNR value of 25 to 30. For 100 to 105 decibels, the hearing protection should deliver an SNR of above 30. You are unlikely to have multiple sets of hearing protection equipment with different performance specifications available to you on board. Your own equipment must function adequately at all times. And if the level of SNR delivered is above what is actually required in one particular area of the ship, that is not a problem. What you need is equipment that will protect you in all the parts of the ship in which you routinely work. If you are an engineer or engine rating, for example, your ear protection must have an SNR value that will allow safe entrance into the main machinery space and all additional areas of the engine room that contain machinery which produces high-level noise. Ear defenders normally consist of 2 cups that create a seal around the ears. They are mounted on a spring-loaded, telescopic and adjustable frame, which runs over the top of the head, or around the neck, and holds the cups in place against the sides of the head. In some cases, these may be mounted onto a safety helmet and may be integrated with a communication system. Ear defenders typically deliver an SNR value of between 25 and 35. There is a wide variation in design of earplugs. They may be disposable or reusable, able to be rolled and formed, or on a pod. They may be a pair of individual plugs or may be joined by a cord or band. These are sometimes called canal caps. They either fit into the ear or cover the ear canal to make a seal against noise. Disposable or formable earplugs are generally made of polyurethane foam and are inserted into the ear, where they expand gently to create a seal. They usually have an SNR in the 20 to 40 range. Reusable plugs are normally of a pre-formed shape and frequently have a number of ribbed flanges which create the seal against the sides of the ear canal. They are washable and usually connected with a cord. Basic earplugs have no moving parts, can be easily worn with other personal protective equipment, and are lighter and less bulky than ear defenders. Long hair does not get in the way of an effective seal. If you use earplugs, it is of paramount importance that they are fitted precisely. You must follow the manufacturer's instructions for the correct method of insertion. If you're not sure about fitting, ask your safety officer on board. Hearing protection is a very personal matter. Just what type of protection you use will be a balance between personal choice and what is supplied on board your ship. Whatever you use, never share equipment. By doing so, you risk transferring bacteria and may end up with a nasty ear infection. It is important to keep your equipment clean. Earplugs are easily washed. Ear defenders require a little more attention, but cleaning kits containing cleaning solutions and hygienic wipes are available from manufacturers and suppliers. Follow any cleaning instructions closely. It is also important to ensure your hands are clean before fitting your hearing protection, particularly with earplugs. Store the equipment in a clean and dry place. Inspect it before use to ensure it is in good condition. If any damage is found, dispose of the defective equipment properly and obtain replacement protection. Inspect the seals on ear defenders for cracks and check that earplugs do not have small tears that might retain dirt. Finally, follow the manufacturer's instructions on how to use the equipment. Ensure hair and jewelry does not prevent an effective seal. And when you enter a noisy area, pause and check the effectiveness of the equipment, making any last-minute adjustments as necessary. In this video, we have raised your awareness of the purpose and use of protective hearing equipment on board ship. In particular, we have explained how the human ear works, how it can be damaged by loud noise, and how that damage can be prevented by the proper use of hearing protection. We have also explained how the code of noise levels on board ships requires training about noise levels and hearing protection, why you should use hearing protection, and when you should use it, and we have looked at the different types of hearing protection equipment available, as well as considering the importance of maintaining the equipment in a safe and usable condition. We're coming to the end of this video now, but let's look at some actions you can take forward in a practical way. You are most likely watching this video because a training session on hearing protection is being held to meet the mandatory requirement under SOLAS for such training. You may be doing so to follow guidelines found in the IMO Code on Noise Levels on Board Ships, the Noise Code. We suggest you continue your training session with a discussion talking over such topics as the types of equipment available, where you have to use it, how to use it, and where high noise warning notices are posted around your ship. We also suggest you look at your own safety management system procedures on hearing protection in more detail. More importantly, however, next time you're given a job that involves exposure to loud noise, ensure you have made a proper assessment of the risk to your hearing and are wearing the appropriate protective hearing equipment. After all, as much as we like you, we don't want you to end up as a case study in one of our safety videos.
I get some help from the government, but it's not much. I think the worst for me is I have kids, and I wanted them to have a good education. But you know, no money, no possible.